Hello, everybody. It's Nick here with you. Welcome back to the Rock Squad channel, and welcome to the Rock album review for the 7th studio album from the Wallflowers. It's called Exit Wounds. Exit Wounds is the follow-up to 2012's Glad All Over. It's been almost a decade since we had new music from Jakob and the Wallflowers. And I have to say, I haven't really listened to a lot of new Wallflowers music. I was a big fan of Bringing Down the Horse when that came out in 1996, back when I was in 8th grade. Yeah, I'm very old, if you can believe that. It came out when I was in 8th grade. Really love the record, though. One Headlight, The Difference, 6th Avenue Heartache, Three Marlenas. It's a classic 90s rock record. And as I've said with a lot of 90s bands or bands that people consider to be 90s bands, or for most of their hits to be in the 90s. I'm always championing those bands and saying they're much more than their 90s hits. And that's very much the case with any 90s bands, including the Wallflowers. I'm sure there's diehard Wallflowers fans who have been following the band over the decades, over the years in their musical career. I am not one of them, so I haven't listened to a lot of Wallflowers music over the last couple of decades, but I was very much looking forward to listening to Exit Wounds. I think that Jakob Dylan has a great voice. He's a great songwriter, obviously has a great musical family legacy as well with his dad, Bob Dylan. I'm not a huge Bob Dylan fan. I do respect him and I do enjoy some of his music, but I'm by no means a big Bob Dylan fan. But I am a big fan of the band, one of my favorite bands of all time, one of my favorite roots rock bands of all time. They collaborated a lot with Bob Dylan back in the day. So I'm happy to say that Exit Wounds reflects a little bit more of my favorite band, the band, than Bob Dylan. And overall, I really enjoyed the record. All right, so let's get to the rock album review. I put the songs into two columns. One is the plus column, which is the songs that I really liked, and one is the minus column, which is the songs that didn't really stick out to me upon first listen. The first song going to the plus column is the first song from the record, a great roots rock title, Maybe Your Heart's Not In It No More. Right off the bat, we're hit with this big, tight, acoustic folk sound, country rock sound, some solid backwards guitar at the beginning of this track that leads into some George Harrison slide guitar. So there's a little bit of Harrison influence in there as well, a little bit of Beatles, which I can never argue with. I'm a huge fan of the band. Like I was saying, the band, not this band, the band, the band. Very difficult to make that distinction, but that's the vibe I immediately got off this track when you listen to the guitars and the pianos and the organs. Really solid backup vocals from Shelby Lynne, who makes quite a few appearances on this record. There's a nice twinkle of the pianos on this song. So overall, I really enjoyed this track. It was a nice tone setter for the record. It's going in the plus column. Also going in the plus column is the first single that was released from this record, which was Roots and Wings. This reminds me of something that could have been on Bringing Down the Horse. You know, you got Jakob Dylan's distinct smoky vocals on this song. I love the lyrics in the chorus. You're in your evening gloves. You're off the farm taking big city drugs. It's one of those songs lyrically. It's like talking about somebody maybe who's gotten a little bit of an ego. Maybe they got a little bit too big for their britches. Bridges is, how do you say that? I don't know. Maybe I should have looked it up before doing the review, but whatever. Somebody who's got an ego, and Jakob Dylan's putting them in his place. Really dug Roots and Wings. It's going in the plus column. Also going in the plus column is I Hear the Ocean When I Want to Hear Trains. There's some great titles on this record. I can always appreciate a good title. So this one kicks off with some really simple lead guitar that I think is really cool. The thing about the title of the song is like he wants to hear trains more than an ocean. I would rather always hear an ocean more than trains. It seems more peaceful to me. But I did like the melody of the song. I thought it was really cool. Continuing the easygoing roots rock vibe, country vibe of this record. It goes a little bit long in the tooth for me on this track, but overall I really liked it. And again, it's got another winner of a title. It's got I Hear the Ocean When I Want to Hear Trains. Great title. Another great song and another great title that's going in the plus column is The Dive Bar in My Heart. Is there anything more rock and roll than a song about a dive bar in your heart? I don't think so. You know, drinking whiskey to drown the pain. You know, you're in a dive bar where the paint is peeling off the ceilings. The carpet smells like beer. You're listening to Bob Dylan on the jukebox. You know, maybe something from Blood on the Tracks. It's just so evocative. I can picture it in my mind as well is in my heart. But all jokes aside, probably my favorite song on the album. It has a really nice riff that comes out of the chorus. Really, really cool song. So going in the plus column is The Dive Bar in My Heart. We all have a dive bar in our hearts. Another song that's going in the plus column is the first real ballad on the album. It's called Darlin' Hold On. And this is one of my favorite tracks on the record for sure. It's in the top three. Jakob Dylan's nice baritone that he sings on this song. He's got a great voice. Very similar to his dad. Well, not super similar. He's a lot more listenable than his dad, but he's got a very enjoyable voice to listen to. He really lays it down smooth on this record. And he does a little duet with Shelby Lynn on this song, which was really enjoyable. I don't really know much of her music that she does on her own, but from what I hear of her on this album, she sounds fantastic. The two of them harmonizing together sounds great. I can picture a lot of couples dancing together to this song. You know, this summer, if you're going to a wedding, you might be hearing it there. If somebody's putting on the playlist, it's a great song, solid ballad, solid track overall. One of my favorites from the record in the plus column is Darlin' Hold On. Another song that I really liked was The Wrong End of the Spear. Another great title. I think that might be one of my favorite things about this record is all the songs have great titles. I love the intro of this song. If you listen to it, it's got this really smooth bass. Like the bass player, he's up on the fret. He's doing some really buttery, sweet little bass riffs. And there's some really nice acoustic guitar that leads into the intro of this song. When it comes to the melody, it was okay. And there's some nice guitar in there as well. There's a little bit of a solo as well. But when we're getting into, I think this was track 8 on the record, things were starting to slow down a little bit too much for my taste. It does change a little bit when I talk about the next song that I'm going to put in the plus column. But I would have liked to hear things pick up a little bit more on this song. But either way, I really enjoyed it. So in the plus column is Wrong End of the Spear. Good lyrics on this one too. And the last song that we're going to put in the plus column is one that really surprised the hell out of me when I heard it on the record. It's coming in at track 9. It's called Who's That Man Walking Around My Garden? Again, another great title. Where was this song the whole record? It's track 9. This thing kicks off with a great guitar riff that leads into the intro. It's a great rock and roll song. It's got some decent swagger, maybe a little bit of a Rolling Stones vibe going on. And I was reading a little bit about Exit Wounds before I started doing this review, and they were talking about how it's a rock and roll record, and there's a lot of rock and roll on it. And then I'm listening to it, and it's like, yeah, okay, it's a rock and roll record in the sense that rock and roll does encompass a lot of different kinds of music, but I'm getting more of a country roots rock vibe to it than a rock and roll vibe to it. And then this song comes out and just kicks you in the face. It's a solid rocker late in the album. And I think, my only complaint about it was I would have liked to hear it earlier in the album or to hear more songs that explored this kind of vibe, because when you think about a song like The Difference from Bringing Down the Horse, that's a great rock and roll song. One Headlight kicks a lot of ass. That's a great rock and roll song. So although I've enjoyed the overall roots rock bandy vibe of the whole record, and I think that's really, really strong, I could have used to hear a little bit more rock and roll. So going in the plus column is a song that I really enjoyed. Top 3 for me on the album. Who's That Man Walking Around My Garden? Okay, and then let's get to the songs that we put in the minus column. These are the songs that I didn't really enjoy. Move the River. This one had a little bit more of an attack on it. It didn't rock as much as Who's That Man Walking Around My Garden, but it's probably the next most upbeat, or upbeat. I wouldn't call it upbeat, but driving song on the record. It's not as country as some of the other ones. And I didn't really like the melody on this one. It didn't really do anything for me. As strong as the instrumentation and the vocals and the performances are, I would have liked to hear some more hooks in some of these songs, even the ones that I enjoyed. Some of it blends together. And so I would have liked to hear Jakob Dylan try to hone those hooks a little bit more. I love how I'm like, Jakob Dylan, a fantastic songwriter of 20 plus years, 30 years almost. You should really work on your hooks, but that's just what I'm thinking of as a songwriter myself. I know people be like, oh, you don't know what you're talking about, but I write songs too. I like to hear hooks. Some of them could have used some more hooks on this one. And after the greatness of Darlin' Hold On, which was the song that came before this one, this was a step down, despite having a little more punch to it. So in the minus column is Move the River. Another song in the minus column that has a great title, I'll Let You Down, bracket, but I Will Not Give You Up, bracket. You gotta love songs that have titles in the brackets as well. This one was another a ballad in the vein of Darlin' Hold On, but it wasn't nearly as strong for me. I know that they're trying to pull the heartstrings, but with Darlin' Hold On, I'm like, oh man, this song is it's going to be a love song for the ages. People are going to be dancing to this one, and this song I felt like was going for the same vibe, but it didn't really get there. So in the minus columns, I'll Let You Down, but I Will Not give you up. It won't. And then the final song going in the minus column is the final song on the record. I find that I always end up putting the last song on any record that I listen to for the rock album review in the minus column. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just because some albums are very front loaded, and I think this one is as well, except for a couple of tracks. This one was cool. It had some cool lyrics on it, but after the song "Who's That Man Walking in My Garden" kicked so much ass, and on track 9 and brought me up here was like woke me up and made me really pay attention. This one just brought me back down again, so it really felt like it was another step down. It's a decent closer to the record. Had a nice little guitar solo, but overall the Daylight Between Us didn't really impress me as a closing track, so that one's going in the minus column. And that is pretty much it for Exit Wounds. I really enjoyed it. It was produced by Butch Walker, who is a producer and musician who's worked with pretty much everybody. He plays a lot of instruments on this record, and he did a great job with the production. The instruments sound great. The drums sound great on this record. Very Ringo Starr. They have a very low tone and very thuddy sound to them. So I enjoyed that Beatle-esque, Ringo-esque drum sound that they got on this record. And just the production and the tapestry of instruments. It's a very colorful record with all the the guitars and the bass and the organs, pianos. Very cool stuff. Very lush. Love the production on this record. So good stuff for Butch Walker. And it's a nice solid listen. It clocks in at 40 minutes and 1 second. So it's a nice solid listen. It's not too long. It's not too short. It's just right. Just like, when you have Porridge, that whole, why am I getting into Porridge? The Three Bears. The Porridge was just right. The musical Porridge was just right on this one. So, I don't know if Jakob Dylan embraces his musical heritage. I don't think he runs away from it or shies away from it, but I don't know how much he wants to embrace his musical legacy, but he is getting closer musically to his dad on this record. There are a lot of Bob Dylanisms that I felt like I heard in this thing, and that's just those comparisons are going to be inevitable. But as I said, there is also a comparison to the band. So they're one of the greatest musical ensembles of all time. So if you are able to be compared to the band, then I'd say you'd be in good company. So I really did. I like this record. It was a very enjoyable, very easygoing record. Could have used to hear a little bit more rock and roll because I know that's kind of what they were selling ahead of the release of this album. But overall, I thought it was really cool. And I think the melodies could have been stronger in some parts, but you know what? I'm not going to complain. I really did enjoy listening to Exit Wounds, so I'm going to give it a solid 4 out of 5. And that is it for my review of the new record from the Wallflowers, Exit Wounds. Let me know what you thought of the record in the comments below. Make sure to like this video. We would appreciate that. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on future videos here on the Rock Squad channel. And make sure to subscribe to us here on the Rock Squad channel on YouTube. We would appreciate that. And you can keep up with everything that we're doing here on the channel. More rock album reviews. We're doing the Rock Squad podcast every week. Me and my co-host and bandmate Dave Marini do a rundown of the week's rock music news. So if you want to keep up with everything going on in the world of rock music, we got it for you right here on the Rock Squad channel. Follow us on social media. We're at Rock Squad Pod on Twitter and Instagram, and check out our band as well. Me and Dave are in a band. We're called Fools Union, and you can check us out at foolsunion.com and on all good streaming services. We'll see you again for another rock album review. Rock on.